Okay, welcome everybody to coaching. Welcome to our live studio audience in Redstone Park City office. I'm joined. Yeah, thanks, Kev. I'm joined by Kevin, who's also playing technical production assistance. So appreciate that, and appreciate all of you who are joining by Zoom who couldn't drive all the way to Park City. How would that be, Roxanne? How far would it be to go to Kanab all the way to Park City? Is that 6 hours?
I was surprised it took me about 5 hours is all. So yeah, if I go
Okay.
the back way, Salt Lake is 4.5 hours from me. So
Got it. Hey, you see that's coming through really clear, isn't it? Yeah, we hear you loud and clear, by the way. The audio coming through in the room here is perfect. And we've got everybody projected up here on the screen. So Joe, I just want you to know, Kev and I deserve a massive tech bonus for pulling this off. You know, it only took, what time did we get here? 6:15?
Yeah, I think, no, it's probably closer to about 6:10.
Yeah, it only took us a few hours to figure it out, but you know, Wi-Fi, then the audio. And
I'm looking at all my texts for help. Let me see.
Wireless, we have these cords draped everywhere. We did a little bit of a rewire of the TV here. So Dallas has some work to do.
Yeah, but hey,
he
we're
loves
traveling.
it. He loves when people go in those offices and pull everything apart. It's his favorite.
Yeah, I know, favorite thing. But we're coming to you. If you're, we're coming to your office soon. Next week I'll be in St. George. Yay, St. George office. So we'll broadcast from the upstairs training room there. If you haven't ever been to the St. George office, brand new space, amazing, beautiful, fantastic. A view of the whole St. George Valley, kind of top floor, and massive windows, just incredible space. So I'll show that off when we get there next week. Okay, today we're talking about the 7 factors and then how we use the 7 factors in better pricing our listings. This was the concepts here were stimulated by a conversation I had with an agent last week going out on a new listing, and gosh, Will, I'm really struggling with how I price these listings, because right now we've got older comps that could be higher, and you know, we want to get there, right? But we're not sure we can use those sold comps like we used to. So I thought really the structure of the 7 factors. So let's get a running start at it. On screen, let me share. And for those who have your coaching manual, we're going to start off, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on, you know, comparable approach, cost approach. We're not going to dig into that today, okay? But I think you have to have your mind right about what approach you're taking. You're likely going to take a comparable approach. So when we educate our sellers, you're going to get a running start at how we arrived at something. Don't skip over cost approach, income approach. Okay, don't skip, like they're there. We may lean on them. Okay, if we're not clear, we may go back and project income, or we could project cost approach if we had to reconstruct the property, what it might cost. That's a good way. We also have assessed value on there. Okay,
That's we can't find comparables.
yes, when we have when we struggle with comparables, I think we just jump to comparables so quickly that we're missing a chance to educate the seller on the other kinds of approaches that we can take. Okay, this will build value in your conversation. Okay, so enough of that. Let's now go to the 7 factors and spend the majority of our time on these. The 7 factors are 7 principles that weigh in on, number 1, look, how long it would take to sell, whether it will sell, and then what it will sell for. Okay, so when you're starting to present comparables, then think about how. Well, okay, tell you what, put that on the shelf. We're starting to present comparables. Let's back up to, they say, what is my house going to sell for? And that's what they need to know from you. So according to NAR, the number 1 asked question by sellers and wanted from an agent is, what's the value of my property? So we have to own this space. So today, I'm hoping you're more confident. When you arrive, be confident. And you should be, because of the way we're going to approach this. Okay. I hope that you'll make a commitment to memorize these. Give them to someone. There are 7 factors. Really? That's a great way to start. Well, there's 7 factors, Kevin, on how we arrive at these things.
Right.
Now, we're going to, and thank you, Kevin. Kevin's holding, let me tell you what's coming. So Kevin is holding a list of the updated and new appraisal principles. So we'll look at it through the lens of an appraiser, and we'll see the commonality, but we'll also see the difference. There's a lot of commonality, but there are some differences.
And there's a difference between what it'll appraise for, what my home's value is,
Yes.
versus what it'll sell for. Because those are 2 different things based on a lot of different factors. So somebody may have had an appraisal for a refinance that may be different than what it would sell for in the market based on market conditions.
Right.
The appraiser is supposed to look at market conditions, but they don't have the insight we do.
I love that. We talked about this yesterday. We prepped for this, but it reminds me of a quote. Could you write this down? I think you need to remember what an appraisal is. What is an appraisal? An appraisal is a justification in real estate. Okay. An appraisal is a justification of what someone was willing to pay, not a prediction of what a buyer is willing to pay. I think we get that wrong because when we just think about, I'm going to have like an antique appraised, you know, and they go, well, like, what's the value of this antique? And someone says, yeah, it'll sell for that. It should sell for about this. Well, I mean, I'm not suggesting that the justification is not sometimes in line with what a buyer would pay, but that's the difference in you and me and an appraisal. Okay. You and I can use under contracts as comps. We can lead the receiver, to use a football analogy. We see where it's going, so we can get out ahead of that. Instead of being pigeonholed into only sold comps. Okay, so back to the quote again, if you missed it. An appraisal is a justification for what a buyer has already agreed to pay, not a prediction of what they will pay. Your CMA is a prediction of what a buyer will pay. You see the difference? And that's what they want from us. That's what they need from us. And we'll use the 7 factors to get there. Okay? All right. I brought this up a little bit in sales meeting as a teaser. Let's first look at data from only the lenses of what is my price competition. Well, to do this, we have to have some kind of a range. So right now I'm going to use 1.5 million. So at 1.5 million, I want to know what I'm competing against at only price. What is on the market right now for 1.5? What's on the market for 1.7? What's on the market for 1.3? I don't care about what they have or what they are or their status or even their location. I just want to know what I'm competing against. So I'm going to really take a broader look of the market only by price.
And the reason we do that is if we're taking a buyer out and we know that that buyer is going to look at our listing, we want to know what else they're going to see on that same day.
That's right.
And how it's going to compare with the aesthetics of the home, all the other factors that we're working in here, all weigh on that. We want to be the best of the bunch, not the worst of the bunch.
Right. And that's going to be, we're going to look at through the lenses of how we are in a price. So let's go ahead and grab data on what our price competition is and answer that question. Like we should be able to say right now in the broader area, 25 listings. In a more restrictive area, we still have a dozen properties that are within 20 to 30% of our suggested price range. We are competing with that. That's a great reminder to a seller. They're not the only house on the market. Okay. And buyers are going to be looking and they're going to be comparing. All right, now let's look at it just location. So put all that data to the side. And now let's only look at location. And Kev, I think this is a good place to introduce an appraisal. Maybe we should do that and kind of go principle at a time.
Sure.
Because on location, we're gonna look at this on a micro level. So we're gonna look at like, give me a community in Park City that's off, not just Deer Valley, but you know, like Park Meadows. Thank you. So we go Park Meadows only. Because are there buyers who say, Patrick, I just want to live in Park Meadows? Yep, there's a group there. So they're very hypersensitive of the location, and they're not going to go outside of that. So we need to know now, what do we compete with? Like what's for sale? I'm not talking about price now. I'm not talking about 1.5 million. I'm only talking about what's for sale in Park Meadows. Now I need to put that aside. And I can also go broader and say, you know, the broader picture. Now I know we're going to probably look at something that's 1.5 to 2 million. Probably, is there anything in 1.5 in Park Meadows? No, that's years ago. Yeah, a lot. Yeah. How much?
250, Judy Glover,
Yeah.
So that's the lowest one right now?
pretty much, single family home.
Okay, so low twos is entry level home in Park Meadows. Yeah. Right now, everyone on Zoom who's not in this market with those sales prices is going, oh, you guys, you're killing me. Right? Yeah. 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 So yeah, I know those are great commissions. Okay. So Kev, tell everybody, so you had a good friend appraiser who sent you this new list. I don't have it on the screen.
Right.
I'll email it to everybody. Okay. So
Actually have it in your email if you want to open that and I'll pop it up on the screen.
okay. Maybe while we're talking about this, let me stop sharing.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it real quick.
It's an attachment, word attachment, make yourself with enough to share that if you want.
Okay.
But while he's doing that, the number one criteria for an appraiser when they're sent out on an appraisal is to find a property that is most like the subject property for a comparable. And the first criteria is location. The closer to the property that you can get, the better value that comparable has. If you can't find one right next to it, then you start widening the circle a little bit. You all have seen the radius searches from the subject property. And if you could do like a quarter mile and come up with 3 or 4 really good comparables, you don't need to look any further. But if you can't find them, then you expand that radius out a little bit till you do find enough comparables that are similar to the property. The problem is if you don't watch on your map, you don't want to cross in a neighborhood that's unlike it. You want to find apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Like if we were to pull a radius for something in Bear Hollow here, but then we pulled over in Silver Springs, that's not a good comparable. It's across the freeway, the homes are different age, there are all sorts of other issues. The appraiser said appraising in Park City is really pretty easy because every neighborhood was all built kind of around the same era and the same time. So if you can find them in the same neighborhood, it's easy. Says it's really difficult in like Holiday or Salt Lake because of the lack of zoning and the way that each little city was set up and then they blended into each other. You have multi-million-dollar homes sitting next to a farmhouse, and you can't just pull a comparable there without considering all these other factors.
Very well said. So when we're looking at the contrast between appraisal and CMA, the appraiser is very restricted on location. Now, look, in a perfect world, we'd be completely aligned, right? We take all the principles of appraisal and the 7 factors, we'd be completely aligned in the perfect world. But frankly, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Okay, so, you know, there are going to be times when you break appraisal principles because you know the market and buyers' tendencies, and the appraiser, because of underwriting guidelines, cannot go there.
He may get his appraisal rejected by
Yes.
the underwriter if he goes outside the
Yes.
guideline.
But you know that there are buyers just like this buyer who went and looked at this one and then went clear across town to look at a similar property in a completely different neighborhood, right? And they're comparing those. So you should have the ability to be flexible like that and make arguments for different kinds of different properties, okay? And comparables. All right, we're gonna keep trucking along here. So let's go back to
One is the date of sale, you know.
Yeah.
How recent is the
Okay.
sale? Because if we find one from a year ago, the value's changed from 12 months ago to where they are today. In Park City, yes, they've been escalating because of our lack of inventory. But say if we've gone up 12% and you've got a comp that sold 6 months ago, you got to add about 6% that's going up 1% a month to come up with an accurate value there. And a lot of our CMA programs do that. But you have to think about that. An appraiser always looks for the most recent sale. So if you don't want to get in an argument with an appraiser, use the more current one instead of the old one. Don't try to pull something from a couple of years ago or a year ago when there is one right there that's within like 6 weeks of it.
You know, my note on that one is if you're going to pull an old comp, you might want to go back and look at if this is a financing potential buyer, look at the interest rates of that time.
Yeah.
Make sure you give a true picture of what market was like on that date. And because we're seeing such a change,
Right.
if we go pull something, it's a great comp. Like, you know, it's very much like the subject property, but it's an older comp. We're going to have to remind our seller client of the market conditions on that day. And because they might even bring it to our attention and go, well, you know, my neighbor sold for. Yeah, but that was a year ago or almost a year ago, and our market conditions are different.
Yeah.
So good point.
Especially.
Yeah, especially now. Yeah. Okay. Before we get to your number 3, let's go to I think we're kind of seeing some mirror. Yeah, because number 3, the thing about this on the drive up here, will you also write next to amenities features? So I kind of put that, I put interior and exterior features. But here I am in Park City. When I say amenity, I don't think we think feature. I think we say amenity, we think about the things outside the property, like the biking trails and the riding trails, the pools, the golf course, the skis, everything that has to do with the lifestyle. When I think amenity, am I right? When I say amenity, that's kind of what we go to. But when I say amenity in most of our other markets, I think builders kind of think, oh yeah, what's the amenities that the pool might built, right? They think about what's inside the property. So I think we want to just make sure these are just words in the English language. Let's just make sure we understand what they mean and we can describe them. Okay. So I would think amenities are more outside the property and features are more inside the property. Okay. So let me give you something that I think is a huge gem. I want you to think of the best feature first of the listing that you may or may not list. Like think of the property or one you have on the market right now and answer me this question. What's the best thing about it? By feature, not by location, not by the deal that it is. See, we already went through those. Tell me about its feature. So here was a conversation I had yesterday, and it went kind of like this. Well, it's a fairly common property, Will. I don't really know, but if I could, I'd maybe say main floor master. Perfect. Now go back to those comps you just pulled that were price and area and eliminate everything that's not a main floor master. This is seriously, this is going to define your market competition because there's a buyer pool inside the buyer pool that say, I want main floor master, or they want that feature. So they're going out there looking at, well, we've already decided we have to have the main floor master. So boom, there they go. Okay. Now, because we should be able to say, guess what? Of all the main floor masters, this is where we're priced. And in our location, there's only 3 main floor masters. And how do we sit with those 3 that are location and feature? So we lay price, area, and feature on top of each other, and we start to get something very beautiful about understanding how to price a listing. That's the biggest gem. We could be done right now. You guys have a wonderful day. Nailed. Mic drop. It's over. Done. That's the Berkshire way, baby. That's how we do
But
it.
your subject property may be functionally obsolescent too.
Yeah, you're like, the best feature could be the worst feature.
Honestly, I know of a home right now that is way overpriced in our market that I had the opportunity to view the other day. Who likes multi-level bathrooms where there's 4 steps in the bathroom to get between the vanity and the tub?
Really?
You go up and down stairs everywhere in this house.
Wow.
Is that
And-
carpet too?
What's that?
Is that carpet in the
It's
bathroom too?
carpeted too. And the owner thinks it's really cool, but no one else does. And it's been sitting for quite a while. So, I mean, it may have been cool at the time it was built. It was unique, different. Somebody was trying to be creative, but nobody's buying it, literally.
Yeah.
So there's a huge, the agent that priced it is with a different company. Priced it based off strictly square footage. and didn't look at the functional obsolescence and the features and the amenities.
So,
And it's correct if you look at it on paper, but it is way wrong when you walk through it and look at it from a buyer's perspective.
okay, I gotta back up. Realty Alliance sparked another thought. Realty Alliance said last week they're watching some trends, and it's probably no surprise to anyone, but soon appraisals will be done half by AI. And then the human expert confirms what it did. Okay. I asked you what the best feature was. You had an answer. On the flip side is, well, what's the depreciating feature and how does that look? Okay, like the same conversation with the agency, but will the backyard backs up against, and then it was a busy street, or backs up against townhomes. This was another one where they look down in the backyard. And I'm standing there going, I don't know how to to adjust for that. I'm not sure how AI is looking at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, probably not. So let's own the complexities of this challenge, because it's why we exist. If it were that simple to put a computer to it, then just go on and have someone tell you. But we have all learned that those AI valuations are way off most of the time. Okay. So remember, there's a common theme in value. Like, I want to show my value. It's complexities or problem, solution to problem that equals value. When you bring solution to problem, value is realized. So my whole job is to solve problems. And the problem is, what's my house worth? And I need you to help me on that. Okay. All right. So here's what's cool, Kev, is what's the appraisal principle, number 3. And you were saying that this appraiser put them in order of priority. So
Yes.
we did location first.
Right.
We did date of sale next. And then we had what?
Physical features and amenities. Physical features such as the structure's age, which is huge, size and condition may require adjustments, and the style and the functional obsolescence. Basically, how do split entries versus ramblers work in Salt Lake? There's a huge difference in buyer's preference there. So if you're, doing an appraisal or doing a CMA on a split entry, you may need to be really careful to only select other split entries. You compare it to a rambler with a main floor master, you may have a problem because it's not going to compete well.
Right. What if the best thing about the property was the workshop? And I go, well, how other workshops? But then I end up with a 2-story, a rambler, and a multi-level. But they're all workshops, exterior workshop. So there are times where this is why we have a brain. So that we can look at it through different lenses and say, yes, appraiser has to throw it out. It's got to be rambler, rambler, rambler. Underwriting conditions, we're looking at it more like the buyer pool who says, yeah, the exterior workshop, yeah, that's a big deal. And we may be the best priced workshop in the market. And as a listing agent, you should know this anyway, right? Even if we don't have the buyer linear line up with all these things we're saying and march it through, just like we're saying, it's okay, because you still have to have an understanding of where you sit in the market. Okay. Price, area. Now we're on to amenities and features, right? So features and amenities, which the appraiser agrees with, but just a little different. You see the difference in the perspective? It's like we're even saying the same thing, but it's still different. Like they're saying by rambler to rambler, you try not to go rambler to multi-level or split entry, to Kevin's point. And I'm asking you, like, back up, tell me what buyers want. I've used main floor master so far and maybe a workshop, but it really could be the features. I think we need to start off with, tell me about your listing. What's the best feature?
That varies by area too, because people in rural Salt Lake County, or not rural, but just the suburbs, 2-car garages and 3-car garages are very, very important.
Yes.
You get in the avenues, a one-car garage is
Really important. Yeah,
It's a big difference.
that's right.
One-car garage could be a real negative out there, but
Yes.
you know, in the avenues, it's gold.
Yeah. This is why I think it's kind of a failed strategy to have AI or computers try to come up with comps like this. You know, how do you, a 2-car garage in the avenue is a big deal. A 3 is amazing. And if that were the best feature, there you go. Views could be the best feature. Grand rooms could be the best feature. Upstairs family rooms could be a great feature that you can look at it through these lenses. And I think your seller will really appreciate you taking these perspectives. Okay. All right. So on number 3 on the appraisal list, it's features and amenities. And on the in the coaching manual, the 7 factors, the third one is amenities, interior, exterior, kind of the same thing. So, but before we leave that, if location's a big deal, I think location and amenities, because we just define amenities being outside the property. They're married together. Like the location is why you have the great amenities. Okay? Because they're in proximity to the property. So I get the advantage of those amenities. So what are they and how do I define my competition with those amenities? Who else has these amenities?
Yes, it
And
is.
you think about our projects, and we do have projects that kind of have these amenities, and they're different locations. See, and now we go, well, see, area doesn't matter. It's all about amenity competition. You see the different lenses now, but the appraiser can't do that.
No.
Like, is he going to be able to take, think about, like, who competes with each other?
What
Maybe I
I,
don't want to say.
what I love is on every listing in Salt Lake Valley, you have mountain views. Well, of course you do. And, you know, there's some views that are better than others. It's something you can't really quantify. Or valley views, lake views, a lot of different, you know, creative writing.
Yeah.
That basically try to spell out these amenities as a value to the home.
Ski routes, your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
If you have all these different lenses. And this lens, price says you should be here. Location says you should be here. Amenities say you should be here. The final
So Ramon is saying, what if we get different prices from 3 different perspectives and 3 different lenses? So amenity, price, location. What if we come up with little different numbers? I think that's entirely the point, because if you don't, you only look through one lens, you're missing the other, the more broader truth.
Something a computer
So-
can't do, but we can.
Yes.
that's-
And maybe you put more weight
Yeah.
to some of these things. Maybe the location, Park Meadows, for example. I mean, how much, okay, you got some amenities that are the same, maybe the price comp is different, but you just left Park Meadows. So it's not exactly the same. So you may put weight to one of these, you know, more than the other. The buyer will go through this. When you put your buyer hat on and they go see all these things in their price range, they're going to look at a broader area and they're going to see different amenities and they're going to have to make a decision what's most important to them. In a way, you're out in front of that prediction with those buyers. You're trying to predict what they're going to conclude, where the weight is. So it's an excellent question. Hey, Joe, I'm just curious. Could you hear Ramon when he asked that question through my mic?
Yeah, pretty clear.
Good. Great. Fantastic. We're all one family right now. You guys don't know this, but there's like 260 people on Zoom right now. Okay, 60. In my dreams. Yeah, go ahead.
One unique criteria that I always am very mindful of is that affects, in my opinion, the appraisal largely is whether or not it can be rented. And I would like to know your opinion on that, because that single factor has forced me beyond
Sure.
ranges.
Okay, well, that goes back to how many approaches do we have? We have an income approach, and it does change the perspective of property because of its value if it can make money. And then now there's a return on the money. So I totally get it. This goes on a lot also in a lot of other markets. Maybe not as much as in like Wasatch Front per se, but it surely goes on in Kanab, St. George, Moab. We get this all the time. You know, can we do nightly rental? Can this be a hybrid, you know, family second home, but it can also be an income property for us. It's a way to help it finance sometimes for folks, hit a budget mark, some things like that. So yes, I think you do have to look through those lenses. And so let's transition to the next couple of points here.
Actually, that's never,
Too, I've got that same parking buyer that I sent, and he's like, "It's too far away from the bus route. I can't walk from my ski boots." I'm like, nobody's gonna walk to the bus and ski boots. Yeah. Ski boots. So,
so the number
Yeah.
6 item on the species was
Yeah.
property rights.
Oh,
How
okay.
you can use the property affects the value, so that is still coming.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm showing that on Zoom, but I'm seeing this on my screen. That's weird.
I think you need to unshare that one first and then reshare the other one.
And share this one. Got it. Okay, cool.
There you go. Got it.
Okay, let's go to the next point on the 7 factors is condition.
Hey, Will,
Yes, ma'am.
could I just add something real quick, just
Oh,
on
please do,
amenities?
Roxanne. Thank you.
I think working with a seller, that it's important that we list all amenities. Yeah, I had to laugh because a report came out and said one of the top amenities people are looking for is a pizza oven. Like, I'm not necessarily looking for a pizza oven, but I might like the shop or I might not like the shop. And so in a seller context, I think making sure everybody knows everything, serving our sellers the best. So list them all, like put them all out there, because now I'm going to have a buyer and they may pick and choose. And so it may not be the same thing that's super important to your seller, but it might be something super important to them.
Completely agree. I be careful not to look at what you want as if you were the buyer, although that could be a perspective, but it's not always
One
reflective of
one
the
the
entire
best
buyer pool.
questions to ask during your listing presentation is, I'm sure there's reasons that you chose to buy this home. What are your top reasons and what did you enjoy about living in this home? Because that's going to attract a similar buyer.
Right.
So having them tell you what they love about the home, it often is writing your script for you and your notes and what you're going to feature in the home.
I love that, Kev. And that's probably the answer to what's the best feature and how do you compete with those features.
Yeah.
Because when they answer it, now you know what you're competing with and other properties that are similar with those
It's
kinds of
also
features.
making them feel important too.
Yes.
Which is part of building the rapport in the listing
Yes.
appointment. Yeah.
Just a note on chat. John Lucky, thank you so much for the reminder. When it comes to any kind of income, we are never to project future income. If we happen to have history, make sure someone else gave that to us. We pass only what they gave, not what we think. That can get us in huge trouble. So, you know, thank you, John, for that. Trying to monitor the chat. If there is something in chat, Roxanne, Joe, or any of the other managers, just unmute and let me know how to chime in there on a chat comment. Okay. So we're going to move on now to condition. And I know you're probably thinking about age and deferred maintenance and things like that. But I think the really loud example is new construction, which could also be how we compete. Okay. So how many other brand new homes are on the market right now that are turnkey ready to move in, never been lived in? That's a really good perspective to have. So that's the extreme example. And then we start backing off, you know, the age of the home, or it's been updated and remodeled, fully remodeled. How does it compete with other remodeled properties? So, and this could, there could be on the negative side, depreciation on deferred maintenance.
Yep.
And it seems like everybody in Summit County needs a new roof, right? So Ramon, go get that listing and let us know when you got it signed. Ramon came in, got a listing appointment he's going to right now. So
He's gonna use everything he
Yep.
can.
he's like, I just came from a class. Okay, so the condition's a big deal. So we're going to have to be truthful about deferred maintenance and things like that and how we sit there. So another great factor. Okay. So how many of you right now feel like you could give those factors to the person next to you? Do you think you could do that? Like even on Zoom right now, do you think you could say back without looking what those factors are? Let's try it just to that point. Okay. So just go to condition and just tell the person next to you what they are. Kev, you like, let's see how many, 2, 4, 6, like 2, 4, 6. Tell me the factors. You guys turn your, here, I'm going to stop sharing. Try to give them back right now without looking. Okay. All right, go ahead. What's the first factor?
Age, new construction.
No, go the other way. The first factor on the list.
Oh, price, features, and location.
Price, then
Features,
almost
price, location.
location,
Condition and features.
features, then condition. Do it one more time.
Price, location, features, and condition.
Perfect. Great. Okay, I hope you can do that. And it's really important to memorize these when someone says, well, I think I told you guys a story of this was down in St. George. It's a big listing. It's on Nicholas Peak. It's great. My good friends Lindsay and Mariana introduced me to the owner who was in the kitchen, and we're looking at this fantastic view, you guys, unbelievable view. It's on its own mountain, like it's a helicopter pad, and it looks over all of Washington County, and it's elevated like, I don't know, 500 feet or whatever that is. But here we are, this brand new home. It smells amazing. It's extremely expensive. And he says to me, as if I have all the answers, and says, so, hey, look, I don't want any pie in the sky. I need to know what this is going to sell for. And I'm like,
It depends.
But because I've memorized the factors, I was able to say it depends on how we compete in our price range, how we compete in micro area and broader area, how we compete with amenities and features, and certainly we're new construction. See, that gave me a basis for an answer. And he says to me, and I'm waiting like in suspense, and he goes, that makes total sense to me. And I'm like,
You didn't have to give.
I know. I thought I was.
Yeah, most of those guys are gonna be upset you didn't give them a number, right?
I know he wanted a number, but that's not really honest, is it? For me to just spur, like, how would that would be fair for me to do? It wouldn't be right.
But they do expect.
Yeah, they do. I thought I was going to have to apologize to Lindsay and Mariana and take him to dinner or something, but a lot of pressure. But I think that's why I say memorize. Okay, because when you're caught like without a lot of prep, that you can just hey, there's 7 factors that we consider when we go to evaluate the price of property. Okay. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
when do you go, or if you go, do you go to the point of actually showing them their competition?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think we can deliver the perspective from all these different lenses. Here's how we compete on price. Absolutely. Here's how we compete in area. Here's how we compete in amenities. Notice that we have 3 different numbers here. I think we can do that.
Hey, Will,
Yes.
Elizabeth here. So,
Hi, Elizabeth.
hi, how are you? So I've been
I'm really
noticing-
bummed that I'm up in your neighborhood and you're not here.
It's because I have a meeting right after this one. We'll see soon.
Okay.
So what I've been noticing, like in Salt Lake, is that the prices are all over the place. Like we have in the same neighborhood, very similar homes, like with different prices, like very different prices. And to me, like looking closer, they are pretty similar. So that's been my difficulty lately, to find, numbers that kind of match, since you have them all over the place. I did a CMA for a client that I'm getting live tomorrow. I use actually 3 types of CMA: the cloud CMA, the RPR or RPP, whatever that is, CMA, plus our Moxie CMA, to be able to come up with, a reasonable price, I would say. How do you deal with that?
My take on that is, I don't certainly want to minimize any sort of a way, but the programs are coming up with adjustments based on square footage, lot size, bedrooms and baths and features. I mean, they're building in adjustments, and the bigger the adjustment, the worse the comp.
It's not an apple to an
Yes.
apple. You gotta try to find apples to apples, find 3 comps that are most like yours. And toss out the ones that those programs might pull in.
I personally don't lean a lot on those adjustments. I'm not sure they're as accurate. Like there's been times where someone would say the third garage is only a $5,000 adjustment. And I'm like, you can't even build it for that. So the cost approach doesn't support that. And then a comparable approach probably does not support that. But how do I really take the garage off or add one? You know, like it might not even be possible. So just think about the logic behind it and make some, you know, like use our own experience to make adjustments and what we think. And remember, we're not landing on a price. We want price ranges and let them set the price. Today's coaching topic was helping sellers set the price. They choose the price. So we got to be careful of that, right? We don't want to go in there and say, yes, I know exactly what this is going to sell for.
Sometimes their opinion of price is based off of a misconception about something that's sold in the neighborhood. They don't have the same information you might have. So a lot of times you have to educate them on some of these appraisal principles to let them know why that neighbor's house is not a good comp. That the one 3 or 4 blocks away that sold that is most like theirs is really the better comp. And we need to use it rather than the one across the street that was completely remodeled or new.
Right. Okay.
Updated 1984.
I don't want to run out of time here, but how about this? Let me finish the rest and then we'll come back to the appraisal principles and compare these two. Okay. So does market affect what a property sell for? Of course it does. That's why we just said if we pull an old comp, we need to remind everybody, yes, it's a great match, but it sold when interest rates were 3.8%. So that's a different market condition. Since we're in Park City, Cal, I thought you did it, man. I really like seeing the local statistics. I really liked and how Flex actually does that. I was sitting there looking at a historic inventory of Summit County. And since we're here today, maybe you guys already know this innately, but you know, I didn't realize that you're sitting at 50% of your like 10-year average.
Right.
50% of a 10-year average of inventory in Summit County. That's where you're sitting.
The only reason prices are remaining stable and climbing
Yeah.
actually still because of the fact that there's not enough inventory. There's restrictions in getting things approved. Builders aren't willing to risk. Builders are afraid with the high interest rates won't be able to sell. So there's a lot of new product that's not coming to market right now that would normally be coming to market that would actually get us up to those historic levels.
Yeah.
And sellers who don't want to trade in a 3% for a 6% mortgage.
Yes.
So they're sitting and not putting it on the market. So we have limited inventory right now.
Yes.
Would you say that the price is climbing because more than not right now is the new construction that has come on market and the pent up demand, like especially on the ski
If
products.
you notice the median price actually went down, but the average sales price actually went up. And that's because most of the lower income stuff is selling at lower price because of its interest rate sensitive. The higher price, as Steve pointed out, is still moving and getting, increases because they're not relying on financing.
And
So that's one of the main factors there.
That seem to be selling
Yep,
dear value.
exactly. Yep.
I think we could miss this. Think about when you've read an appraisal. What do? What do they say to the lender? They make an economic market statement.
Yep.
They're giving a general overview of what the market is. Don't miss that. Remember, it's a factor. So we need to say, here is the market. This is what we look at right now. This is our inventory. This is our trends. This is the immigration is part of that. When I break that down, it's overall, it's everything. It's the job market. It's all the factors. So I think we need to be smart about that as a factor, okay? And not just because, oh yeah, the market says everything. One more note on this. Don't go too far with this because I don't want to trade my low mortgage for a high mortgage. That's not really the question. And it really never has been in residential real estate. Residential real estate is serving a purpose because and I'm talking about purpose of life. It's what your family's needs are. And because every family is so different and so unique, that's really not wise for us to make some kind of like injection on, yeah, I wouldn't trade mine either. Now you're talking like it's a stock, but that's not what home is.
Shelter, it's amenities, it's schools, it's everything that factors into it. And if it fits their lifestyle, they're willing to sacrifice that low mortgage to move on with their lives. And that's typically, we get kind of knee-jerk reaction when rates go up.
Yeah.
People wait 3, 4, 6 months, and then they got to move on with their life. And it's not as big a factor.
This is why I think when you're talking about market, the other balance to this is, what's your why?
Yeah.
What's the goal? Have them talk that out. How important is that to you? Because it may not be important enough to trade, to make the money investment. It may be way more important, and the money's not an issue, because it's monumental to the family. You know, we've got all kinds of factors on this, okay? Because every family is at different stages. They got different needs. You know, they've got economic conditions, but just remember what home is. So if you're making a note, the other balance on market is, remember the reason for home. Okay. Remember, I came up with a little, acronym for that I've been messing around with, but home is, happiness. The O is in the O in love. And it's the M in family. For M, it's the M in family. And the E, we've had a couple of different things on this, but for me, I landed mostly on safety. Like, I want to be safe there. I want to feel safe. Like, maybe that's even comfortable, but safe. So happiness, love, family, and safety. And that's the reason people part with dollars, not because of the market like it's a stock.
Yeah. Peg Marty, our beloved Peg Marty, used to have a famous line she used with both buyers and sellers. Like, how long are you going to lose out on the opportunity cost of moving forward with the things your family needs? And she would say that to them and then go, yeah, it's not important. Interest rate's not important. I can't wait till I need to do this now while my kids can still enjoy it.
Yes.
I need to do this while they're still in the schools.
Yes.
And should focus on how long are you going to sit on the sidelines and miss out on the opportunity costs and moving forward with what your family needs. And that was gold.
I think, Kevin, that's exactly what Chris Visser just typed in the chat. He says he gets frustrated because the rate in the house they're in might hold them back from what they can become. And that's kind of exactly what you're covering.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost may be greater than a few points on the interest rate.
Yeah, very well said. We just have to be human about this. We're families. We're all part of families. We understand what it means to people to fix some of the problems with the current way they live. And it could be really, really important to them. By the way, another note on that, when you go to write or talk about your listings, think about the why. Not just what it is. I mean, we're not buying square footage. Like, we're buying, there's a hope. We are buying the hope in every room of that property or every amenity or feature of that property. We have an idea about what we hope will happen, right? This was the Verbo mountain cabin commercial that I've talked about over and over and over again, right? It's this kitchen, special things will happen. It's this fireplace and this area in the family room that there's going to be something special that happens there. So that's the reason we're doing it. And we're missing it if we're doing it. If we're not talking about and connecting the reason and to why we buy things, we're missing what it's all about. It's all about that. Too much Red Bull this morning. Sorry. Just high on life, guys. High on life. The next one is marketing. Huge. The overall exposure. We hide this amazing property and make sure it doesn't reach the broader audience. It's going to cost us in sell price. So we've got to be very, very careful about defining this one as well. I've given you some really elevator definition of how we look at exposure, but it's all in there, including even a buyer agent compensation, which increases the exposure because we employ to the cause. We have a cause to sell the property. We employ to the cause this grand army of agents who want to sell your property are now incentivized to do so. So that's broadening the exposure. Last one is finance, because we're running out of time and a little bit faster here, but financing certainly does apply, but notice where I put it. It's at the very end. It's not the main reason. It's not really what people are doing with residential real estate. For the most part, it's not about the numbers. It's about the reason, but financing is part of this. So we have to make sure that we're good with that. Hey, I'm going to plug our mortgage company kind of one more time here, because we made a pivot to something where we were unintentionally, it prohibited under the Cornerstone model. Now we've employed a brokerage model, which opens up 100 and something different lenders. I think Travis said 112 lenders.
500 loan programs.
And tons of loan programs. Just yesterday, I had someone approach me, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, so I'm not going to I could go in a rabbit hole, right? You guys know I could go in a rabbit hole. I'm like, don't go in the rabbit hole, don't go in the rabbit hole. Okay, I won't. But very unique property. Where's the financing going to come from? Walked around the corner, got an answer. First of all, it was like, well, we have 120 different loan programs. I think we only have 2 options, but I was so thrilled that we have actually 2 options. All right. Think about like our, like Yotel. Where's the financing coming from? It's not traditional. It's not conventional. Yeah. So how are we going to finance that for people? We need a solution for that. So financing is part of it. That's part of our job to understand what that also does to the broader pool. Okay, Kev, I'm going to go back to the appraisal principles.
I'm surprised on the appraisal principles, it doesn't say marketing, right? I'm saying that kind of.
Exactly.
Appraisal is considered property, of course it's worth more.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's why I'm not, you should be proud of our profession where you can be more accurate on what a buyer is willing to pay.
Yeah.
I understand that the appraisers they're really not even looking. I mean, as far as they're concerned, if it hit the MLS, that's the same.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, guys?
You have absolutely no.
I mean, it's just not accurate. Okay. Because it could be actually hindered. How many of you know that certain times properties have been marketed with certain brands and it's actually hurt the value of the property? Right?
It actually is considered in here when it says conditions of sale, because if it's a family member to family member, it may be at a lower value because of
Maybe
the
so.
family relationship.
All right. You're giving them a pass. Yeah, you're giving them a pass. Okay, Kev, talk through the rest of those.
Well, just the financing conditions, we talked about that. Adjustments for differences in mortgage loan terms, which we talked about, the interest rates, whether they're offering seller financing, a lot of different things there. Property rights is really an adjustment they make based on the bundle of rights. Can it be used for nightly rentals? Can it be leased out? Do they have the full bundle of rights involved? This includes the land leases, ground rents, life estates, easements, deed restrictions, and encroachments. They even took encroachments. Maybe there is an encroachment neither party wants to deal with. That's going to lower the value of the property. Once they disclose that in the seller's conditions, perhaps that's a factor. As long as it's disclosed to the buyer, they could buy it, but they're going to probably want a discount, right? So that's what the total list comprises of.
Okay, hey, I'm going to send. Actually, you know what, Kev? Why don't
You send this
you
out.
want to send it out since
Sure.
you grabbed it? Look from an email, you guys, from Kevin Larsen. It's going to have this in there, and you can put it in your repertoire of tools to use, and we'll send that out to everybody. Right? Before you go, let me tell you something inspiring. I hope inspiring. Kevin, you and I were there. We were at the CCIM banquet. Paint a picture for you. It's Grand America. Very elegant. It was black tie, 500 people, round tables, little roses in the middle, and formal dinner, and a little stage and curtains and lights, and it was very elegant, right? We were there in part to honor the 3-4 generations of the Woodburys that have been huge developers through not only decades, but generations through the whole Mountain West. So amazing. Well, let me just tell you some of the principles that they live by, that they try to live by. Okay. I wrote them down on my phone as I type them out as they were talking. First of all, I thought it was interesting. Number one, he says, have a higher purpose. It can't be a goal to just make money. And I went, that sounds like something I've been saying for years. Like someone said to me, I want my best year in 2023. Or someone says, I'm not having my best year. And I'm thinking, guys, it's not about money. Okay, you can have your best year in life and not having it tied to income. Think about that. So just, yeah, I know it's part of it. I get it. But isn't that interesting that first they live by this higher purpose and it's not just to make money? They think about family and the legacy and community when they make decisions. Also very interesting. Now they're working with dozens of their family. Can you imagine? I mean, that's challenging. But he says, we've also learned to let go of some of our own ideas for the betterment of the group. You can't go 3 generations unless you've done that. You know, like you're really passionate about your idea, but you concede maybe someone else has got an idea. He said, love collaboration, another great point. And I've always said that if you grab people who care about the outcome and collaborate with that group, you'll get the best answer. Okay, so broader the collaboration with people who care equals the best answer. And he says, even the lawyers had something positive to add, which I thought was fantastic. Okay, here's my best dad joke in parting. I want you to leave with a laugh. You guys know I like to write songs and I love music, right? I like to write songs. Well, last week I wrote a song about a tortilla.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of weird. Kind of turned out to be a rap.
Was it difficult?
Corny.
So yeah. All right, you guys know what you call a pony with a cough? A little horse. All right, there you go. Thanks for laughing. Have a wonderful day, you guys. I love you all. Thanks for joining us on coaching. You're all fantastic. Go out there and help somebody. Now you can be better and more confident in your pricing. Right? Yes, right? All right, thanks, you guys. You can stop recording.